This podcast should not be listened to whilst driving or operating heavy machinery. This is Living Lightly with Jenny Light. Yogic philosophy, guided meditations, and pranayamas. Please subscribe for all future podcasts. Welcome to today's session. Enjoy.
Welcome to our Christmas meditation. We're working with the light of the star. This is your own guiding light, the light that guided the wise men to the infant Christ. They were guided by their own inner light, the light of the Christmas star or Christ star in the centre of the spiritual eye. That's the true meaning of the star in the east. And so we have a Christmas celebration that is full of light as we come into the darkest period of the year, come into the shortest day, so that we can awaken afresh and anew to our own inner light. That light is always within. Sometimes it becomes occluded because we have so much outward focus the rest of the year, but winter is great for that, going within. That finding that seed of knowledge, finding that inner light within. Be strong in the light. All things are passing, and karma does not endure forever. Be still and look into the heart of the blazing star. From the centre of this star, the light and strength of God flow into your heart and your whole being, giving you a firm, straight backbone. Do remember to keep your back straight, not only physically but spiritually and mentally. Remember, everything passes. All things change except God, and God is within you. That your consciousness of God is daily increasing, and that is all that matters. Your expanding consciousness of God. So our meditation tonight is on that spiritual star. We'll just start by becoming aware of the straightness of the spine. That physical spine being tall and straight, tipping forward slightly and back slightly, left and right, until you're aware that you have that column of white light in the spine as a shaft of light running from the base chakra right up into the middle of the head. There is a sense of peace once you've connected into that centre of the spine. So I'd just like you to have a visualisation of that physical spine being tall and straight, upright. Within that, energetically, we have the astral spine, which we have each one of the chakras, from the base chakra, sacral, navel, heart, throat, brow, and then perched on top we have the crown. But each one of those chakras is lined in the spine, apart from the crown. And then within that finer spine, we have an even finer spine, which is called the causal spine. And the causal spine has a very fine nadi or energy pathway called the Brahma nadi, which means pathway to God. Brahma is God, pathway to God. So we have to learn to withdraw our attention away from the extremities of the body, from the 5 points of the star, which are hands, feet, head. To withdraw our attention into the centre, first of all into the centre of the physical spine, and then the astral spine, and then the causal spine. The physical spine deals with sense attention, so everything that you can feel, touch, taste, hear, smell is the physical spine. And then the astral spine within that has to do with the realm of thought. That which you think is what you are. And then within that we have the causal spine, the very finest one. And this is to do with the realm of ideas. So even before a thought has formulated, it will coalesce as an idea. Before it becomes, in a grosser aspect, a thought. And then as it becomes actionized by the body, it becomes even more gross into the physical body. So we have this clear pathway of physical being the densest, finer into the astral body, into the astral spine, and then the finest of all into the causal body. And these are all part of our manifestation within creation. But the Christ light, the Spirit of Christ, lives beyond that as unmanifested, so it's even finer. Be aware of the sit bones as a very firm base. You might like to visualise a lighthouse on the rocks so that we have this firm base of the building, connected down into the bedrock, firm, unshakable. And rising straight as a column out of that, we have the building of the lighthouse, column, and this symbolises our physical spine, a rising of the base. And then at the top of the lighthouse we have that projected light, and this is the light of the forehead, quite literally casting light or shedding light on whichever we take our attention to. So I'd just like you to be aware that you are breathing. There is a regularity to the breath. And training yourself to let the mind follow the transit of air. And we're having an equal inhale and exhale, but I'd like to make them longer than one would normally do so. So we're starting with a count of breathing in for 6. Take the awareness onto the brow, hold for a count of 3, and then breathing out again for a count of 6. So there's no external retention of the breath. So it's an equal inhale and exhale. Breathing in smoothly for a count of 6. Hold the attention on the brow as if you were gazing into a tunnel of light. And then breathing out for a count of 6. The point is to start with something that is achievable and to keep your focus on it. If you find that breathing in for 6, hold for 3, breathing out for 6 is easy, then we're going to move on to a slightly more difficult one. So we go up in increments of 2. So this is breathing in for a count of 8, hold for 4, and breathing out for a count of 8. Allowing the breath to be smooth. Sometimes it helps if you're doing a slightly extended breath that you're not used to, is to imagine that you're breathing into the back of the body. It can free up some tension that you might be holding on to. So breathing in for 8, hold for 4 on the brow as if gazing into that tunnel of light, and then breathing out for 8. You might like to imagine that the breath is sliding behind the inner spine, that you weren't breathing from the other side of the spine through the skin, but you were actually breathing the breath in behind the lungs against the inner spine. If you find an 8-4-8 ratio easy, then you can go up in another increment of 2, which would be to breathe in for 10, hold for 5, and breathing out for 10. please making it manageable, choosing a ratio that you can stay with a calm, smooth breath and have amplified focus on the brow as you hold the breath. The world goes quiet as you hold your attention on the brow. Try and amplify that quiet. Remember that you are the lighthouse, gazing out from the level of just above the eyes, opening into light. So the breath in, hold the breath on the light on the brow, and then an equal exhale to the inhale, whichever ratio you choose. If you choose one that's too difficult, then come back to a slightly easier one. It's about the smoothness. It doesn't have to be a difficult, complicated ratio. And then as you're holding the breath, holding the attention on the brow, be aware of the currents, the focus of both eyes, gazing towards that point. Try and master any flicker in the eyes. So until you've mastered that, you can use the pause in the breath to try and hold for that 3, 4, 5 second count. Hold the attention on the brow. You can be a wee bit more lenient as you're breathing out again, just until you've mastered it. So what you're learning to do is to take your attention away from the external and place it on the brow. Your brow will open up into light. And making the next breath the one that you focus the most. Taking your attention away from the back of the head so that you're really focused on the brow. You allow your life force to slide forward to the front of the brow, instead of observing from the back, as if you were a passenger. Be active. And then after you've breathed out, be aware of just containing your attention still on the brow. So the breath can recede away, it can do its own thing, whatever pattern it wants to do. And then becoming aware of a still white star above the head, 5-pointed star, radiating light, starlight in all directions. And that starlight shining down on your physical body, cleansing into the surface of the skin and shining down through the crown and the head, down into the body as if it were hollow. Being bathed in pure white starlight. That starlight shining down through the head, down into the spine, illuminating the spiritual spine as a pathway of light from the grosser dimension of the lower chakras back into the spiritual domain. Breathing in pure white light and breathing out that pure white light down into the hands, down into the feet. Becoming aware of that pure white light then spreading out into the digits, into the 5 fingers and the 5 toes. And as that awareness is outward focused, we now return within, turning the current from the tips of the fingers to turn inwards up the arms and into the spine. Turning the current that runs down into the toes, reversing it so that it now runs back into the feet, up the legs and into the spine. Allowing that pure white light to fill the spine. So we come back to that visualization of the lighthouse on the rocks, and the lighthouse is glowing. Your spine, your spiritual strength of the spine is glowing, filled with pure white light. And the current is flowing upward from that firm base, flowing upward, pure white light flowing upwards in the spine. Flowing upward perhaps up to the level of behind the heart. Flowing upward to the level of the throat. Flowing up to the level of the mid-head, and then looking forward to look from the spiritual eye. As if you were gazing through a star-shaped aperture, a window on the brow. Still white star above the head, illuminating the star on the brow, so that as you gaze through this aperture, you can see the true reality. You can see that every being is seamed with light. You can see the planet itself is composed of light. The air and water, once they become decondensed from their physicality, are just light. Behind every structure that you can cast your eyes on, there is only light. Light and consciousness. That's all there is, light and consciousness. Between this world and many other worlds, light and pure consciousness. And as you turn your spiritual eye to gaze within, you can see that microcosm of the macrocosmic universe is mirrored within, and that every structure in your physical body, once decondensed, is just light and consciousness. Within the finer astral body is a body of light. And even the causal body, the finest body of all, is just light and pure consciousness. that the three bodies are as comparable as solid, liquid, gas. The physical body has a seemingly solid makeup. The astral body is more akin to water, the liquid. And the causal body is more akin to gaseous form. But even that body is just a body of light. Once decondensed from its gaseous form, it's just light and pure consciousness. And following that light and pure consciousness within, we come into the realm of the heart, where the spark of your own soul sits, being shined upon by that spiritual star, still white star above your head. Pure starlight, the starlight of the Christ light, shining down into your own soul, resting within the spiritual heart. Being bathed in the light of the Christ ray, and turning your consciousness to gazing into that still white star. The closer that you get in gazing at that still white star, the more palpable is the peace within. It emanates peace. Coming closer and closer, drinking in the quality of stillness, peace, harmony, until you are within that still white star, perfectly at peace, held in this harmonious starlight, supported, guided, and never to be found wanting. We are our own harshest judge, but the Christ starlight holds you in the highest esteem, in harmony, peace, stillness. And soaking up that harmony within the heart, as if your heart were a parched desert that was having the first rains, soaking up that harmony. Sometimes our hearts can be too full to have taken on board harsh judgments or to have made harsh judgments, and instead just handing these over, that they're a taint on your inner stillness, and to not tolerate them. Hand them over into the Christ star to be purified. So that with your heart less full, you can soak up even more this blessing of the Christ light at Christmas. And then being aware of a deep stillness within, and that the body has a very quiet breathing, or perhaps the breath is almost non-existent. And allowing that blessing from the heart to be contained there. that you have your own shining starlight within the heart. And then being aware of the physical body once more, as if donning a cloak or a costume, and allowing your awareness to come down into the fingers and into the toes, moving fingers and toes. And rubbing the hands together to create a warmth in the hands. Cupping the hands over the eyes and coming back into the room. And then in the spirit of Christmas, making blessings on those less fortunate than ourselves. So we're going to take another few moments of just sitting silently in prayer for those that require support. For it is more blessed to give than to receive. It is the spirit of Christmas is to give. The greatest gift that you can give is to wish well of others. And just finishing by sending that blessing of peace out across the whole world. Visualising the planet bathed in the silver white starlight of the Christ star, bathed in light. And then allowing that picture to recede and realising that you too have been bathed in that Christ light, that you as a creature of the earth, of spirit in human form, have been blessed by your own blessing. Praying hands together. Om Shanti. Peace.
With warmest delight, this podcast was brought to you by Jenny Light. Find out more about Jenny's courses, retreats, workshops and publications at living-lightly.co.uk. Blessings on your spiritual path.